So I've got this nice old Aussies frame, probably 1980s, so not that old, which I've stripped down. And this little video is about removing that little fella down there, which can often be seized on if it's not been looked after. And if I take a closer look in there, you'll see that it around it's not in too good shape. There's lots of rust, which I've pitted. In fact, the frame is showing signs of rust in various spots, which is why I'm going to respray it. But I want to take this out first. Now, these often jam in. The first thing we want to do is remove the non-drive side, and to do that you need one of these. This is a taper bottom bracket, and you fit that in there. It's splined, and then you rotate it the way forward on either side, to remember the way the pedals go forward. Now, obviously the problem is these get very difficult to remove. These are awkward to use, they fall out, difficult to get enough leverage on there, etc, etc, and these are often seized in because they haven't been looked after. You can put heat on this, you can put penetrating oil, both of which I've done. This is still stuck, and so I've got a few extra things that I'm going to do to remove it. First thing you're going to need is a block like this. Drill a hole in it so that you can put the other side of the square taper into that hole there. And the reason why is you are going to use one of these to clamp this against this in place so that you can use this. And this is a really useful tool. They're not expensive. This one's pretty big. I bought it off eBay. I know, 10 quid or so. It's definitely worth it. So in my handheld demonstration, where I'm trying to do the work and hold this phone, the first thing you want to do is put your taper end into that spot there. You then want to put that in there. You might want to clean it out first, make sure it's nice and clean. So I said in here it would be pretty dirty, and it is if you take a close look. So before you put your tool in, make sure you just get in whatever tool you've got in here, give it a good old clean out. So there you are, I've cleaned out all the little gaps. Okay, so there you go, set up. I have the block in the back, tool in that to extract it, held nicely in place with this G-clamp. The other thing that you could do is, obviously you've got a inside there with the tapered end, there's a threaded fitting that you actually screw the pedal into. The other thing you can do, of course, is buy a bolt that fits that threading and put a few washers on the end here and bolt that in place, but I didn't have that bolt to hand, so I've just done it this way. This is going to go that way to undo it, because you've got to go in the direction of the pedal forwards to undo that lock nut. And let's give it a go and see if I can just apply a bit of pressure gently by hand, see what happens. Oh, there you go. I had previously applied a spanner on there, got nowhere, and I've just applied just a little bit of force on this. Obviously I've soaked this in penetrating oil for a while, and there you go, it's free. So I probably won't be able to turn that by a spanner yet, so I will loosen this off, do a couple of other turns. Obviously if you're using a G clamp, you want to release this out a little bit because this is travelling outwards, so this is getting tighter every time you turn this. So you want to just let off a bit of pressure on there a little bit before you go around again. So let me just show you why I went to so much trouble to clamp all of that, because if you've got your spanner on there and you just turn that, there's a tendency for the torque just to lift that out. Now as soon as you lift that out, you'll start to strip these splines in here. If you strip those splines in there, you've got a whole load more trouble. Okay, so lots of fancy tools, as I've mentioned, that you could invest in. Why do I like this wrench setup? Let me just show you one of the reasons. I can hold this. Give it a turn now. Okay, turning. It's gripping. As you turn, it's gripping more, and all I have to do, I can just, without releasing it, slide it around the other way, and where I put pressure onto the handle here, it's closing the jaw and clamping on and turning. Beautiful. Okay, and now I've got it to the stage where I can just slip on the spanner here fairly easily and give it a turn. I'll give it a few turns, and every time after a few turns I'll release that off a little bit, because obviously this is pushing out, as I said before. That'll be out in no time. I've got it set up now on the other side. Same system, block, tool, clamp, wrench, and on the non-drive side, when I pressed down, it came off pretty easily. On this one, my goodness me, that is not shifting with just my hand. I put my foot on there, on, press down, and jong, bang, it broke, and that is now free. So I'm going to follow the same procedure now. I'm just going to slowly push this down, undo this to make sure there's not too much pressure going in as I undo. Make sure I don't cross thread anything as I'm taking it out. Maybe give a little spray of penetrating oil as I go. Looks like this bike is soon going to be looking very nice again. So after I'd turned the wrench a few times, I managed to get the bottom bracket out, and you can see how rusty it is, and how rusty it is on the inside of the bottom bracket shell there. So they are quite tricky to take out, but hey, I got it out, so I'm going to clean it up and take it down the shop to respray it. I hope you found this useful, and hopefully there'll be another one soon.